The world has become a global village. Many countries across the globe are drawing strategies and policies and formulating policies for strengthening their economies. Small and medium enterprises, SMEs in general, and small industry in particular, have always remained high on the agenda of the policy planners in India and several countries elsewhere. Planners and policymakers have always been on the lookout for ways and means to strengthen the SSI sector through various initiatives. Today, the small-scale industries play a very important role in the Indian economy, as they provide employment to about 28.29 million persons and contribute to 40% of the industrial production, equivalent to 6.72% of the gross domestic product (GDP). Besides, the SSI sector generates 34% of the country's exports. With the onset of economic liberalization, the SSI sector has witnessed dilution of protective policy framework and search for ways that will ensure integration of this sector with the rest of the economy through innovative measures. One such mechanism to promote SSI development that has become popular world over is the idea of focus on industrial clusters. A cluster is defined as a sectoral and geographic concentration of firms, especially SSIs, facing common opportunities and threats. Clustering, in fact, is a growth engine for many of the small and medium enterprises all over the world. The geographic concentration of units in a cluster helps the firms to overcome isolation, reduce the weak capital base, improve and absorb technology advancement, improve the economies of scale, and enable the firms to become more flexible and competitive. Targeting of SSIs and SMEs through cluster-based program started long back in 1970s through the concept of Growth Centers in Small Industries Development Organization, (SIDO). State Bank of India initiative started in 1989, followed by SIDBI in 1991. United Nations Industry Development Organization, UNIDO, started cluster development programs in 4 Indian clusters in 1997. The Ministry of SSI, through the Office of Development Commissioner, Small Scale Industries, launched a redesigned cluster-based UpTech scheme in 1998. Various state government institutions and some of the active NGOs also picked up cluster-based growth approach for SSIs. Thus, from the initial concept of technology upgradation and infrastructure development, the efforts of the Ministry of SSI at the national level introduced a holistic and demand-led approach for identification of the core constraints in a cluster and designing suitable interventions for their removal. Subsidy-oriented industrial policy is shifting towards self-sustainability. Clusters are not new to India. In the ancient times, skilled workers, especially artisans, had their own cluster groups. For example, in Nrcd in West Godavari district in Andhra Pradesh, a cluster group of women making crochet lacework was formed in 1844 itself. A Scottish missionary taught the local women on lacework items, which later developed into a cluster. The Nrcd crochet lace cluster is still going strong, and the lacework produced by the cluster is world famous. Small Industry Development Organization, (SIDO), Ministry of SSI, Government of India, is the apex organization in the country for the development of SSI sector. Providing a wide spectrum of services catering to the developmental needs of the SSI sector, the Office of the Development Commissioner SSI has been functioning since 1954. A scheme on technology upgradation and modernization program called UpTech was operating in SIDO to address the issues related to technology upgradation and modernization of SSI sector on cluster approach basis. It was later renamed as Small Industry Cluster Development Program in the year 2003. Under the scheme, a holistic cluster development methodology is implemented in selected clusters in the country. Today, the CEDO has taken up 77 clusters spread in 23 states of the country under SICDP. Small industry service institutes, field organizations of CEDO, resource agencies like Nrcd, EDII and other agencies are implementing developmental activities in these clusters. To cater to the needs of the small enterprise clusters in the country and to enable the SSI sector to face the challenges of globalization, the Small Industries Development Organization CEDO launched the Small Industry Cluster Development Program. 2 resource centers were set up by the Ministry of SSI. The National Resource Center for Cluster Development, NRCD, came into existence in January 2004 at Nrcd, with a principal charter of helping the SSI clusters by providing hand-holding and monitoring services in 20 industrial clusters. The center is also actively involved in organizing need-based training programs, workshops, seminars, research and extension services. The NRCD has an objective to become a global center of excellence in cluster development. The second resource center for cluster competitiveness and growth has been set up at EDII, Ahmedabad. The center is now providing hand-holding and monitoring services in 12 industrial clusters and has a mandate to contribute for the development of clusters in general. Under the cluster development methodology, a cluster is identified based on the cluster's importance, promotability, viability, and sustainability. A diagnostic study of the cluster is conducted based on the knowledge gained by a participatory methodology about its constraints, local linkages, and local support systems. This is followed by the trust-building activity, preparation of an action plan, and its implementation. Regular evaluation and monitoring of the interventions and deliverables follow suit. The cluster development is coordinated by a cluster development executive who is expected to conceptualize the overall development strategy for the cluster and initiate implementation. Similarly, the role of NDA and BDS is very crucial for overall development of the cluster in terms of building networks and finding suitable solutions with proper interventions in technology upgradation, product designs, and export marketing. Coimbatore is often referred to as the hub for diversified industries and a growth center for adopting innovative processes to meet the challenges in the global competition. The city has emerged as the natural wet grinder industry center due to the availability of the natural grinding stone suitable for wet grinders. The cluster is unique in terms of being the only such cluster manufacturing the product wet grinder. The wet grinder cluster Coimbatore is one among the clusters being developed now under the SICDP. There are about 700 large SSI and tiny wet grinder and component manufacturing units in Coimbatore. The cluster is providing employment directly to 20,000 persons and indirectly to 50,000 people. About 1 lakh wet grinders are manufactured in a month in India, of which 75,000 are from Coimbatore. The turnover of the industry in the country is about 300 crore rupees annually, of which Coimbatore cluster's contribution is about 225 crore rupees. The constraints affecting the growth of the cluster constituent units were identified in the diagnostic study as lack of R&D and testing facility, intense competition, collaborative efforts, and linkages with financial and other support institutions. High incidence of sales tax was also found to be affecting transparent transactions. A gap in sharing information among the manufacturers was also diagnosed as serious constraint. Absence of any brand building through advertisements is a major setback to the popular section of the product. To remove the weaknesses and strengthen the cluster, the branch Small Industries Service Institute, Coimbatore, the field office of CEDO implemented several interventions in association with the cluster actors. Coimbatore Wet Grinders Manufacturers Association, CAUMA, was strengthened and activated. Market development activities, initiatives for establishing a common facilities center, and common procurement of raw material were pursued. For generic brand promotion, the registration of the Coimbatore Wet Grinder under Geographical Indication Act is under process. Formation of consortia for various purposes was undertaken. Interaction among the association members, member units were also encouraged. The interventions undertaken in the cluster have yielded encouraging results. CEDO provided a grant of 99 lakh rupees towards the cost of machinery and equipment for the establishment of a Common Facility Centre (CFC). The CFC, once established, will bridge critical gaps in the supply chain and enhance competitiveness of the cluster units. Such has been the appreciation of the industries here that Tamil Nadu government formulated a new policy for financing cluster proposals for CFC based on the model submitted by CAUMA. A common website, wetgrindercoimbatore.com, launched by the association, has generated a number of trade inquiries. Exhibitions conducted at Indore and Ahmedabad for popularizing the wet grinder yielded good results, with potential for getting large order from these places. A 10-member tiny sector group is saving 6,000 rupees per month per unit by availing a loan amount of 50,000 rupees by each unit from Vijaya Bank under the Mutual Credit Guarantee Fund MCGF scheme of SIDBI.
I am the first benefiter getting 50,000 from SIDBI through CAUMA, and we are using that amount for our industry purpose.
The association is now publishing a bi-monthly magazine giving useful information to its members. 2 consortia were formed for undertaking activities for upgrading the quality of the motor and exporting the products. 3 of the constituent units got ISO 9001-2000 certification. National Institute of Design was entrusted with the task of improving the design aspects of the product. Training programs are planned and conducted periodically for the members.
கவர்மெண்ட்னால எங்களுக்கு கிளஸ்டர் ப்ரோக்ராம் ஃபார்ம் பண்ணதுனால நல்ல உதவி கிடைக்குது. இன்னும் நல்ல உதவி கிடைக்குன்னு நாங்கள் எதிர்பார்க்குறோம்.
Hyderabad, a fast-growing city, is known for IT and other industries. Over the years, due to the good infrastructure and other allied facilities, Hyderabad has always been a favorite for the manufacturers. The fan cluster Hyderabad has its origins in 1970s as a group of subcontracting units to a large-scale manufacturer. Fan cluster now is the largest ceiling fan manufacturing center in the country, contributing 45 to 50% of the country's production. Of this, 30% is the contribution from the SSI sector. It is estimated that about 600 units are manufacturing fans and its components in the cluster. The fan industry in Hyderabad operates on 3 segments: large, medium-sized units, organized SSI units, and unorganized tiny units. The total turnover of the SSI units is estimated at 220 crore rupees per annum, providing direct employment to 10,000 people and indirect employment to 50,000 people. The diagnostic study has revealed several problems the cluster is facing. There is no representative association. The industry is functioning in an unorganized manner. Quality standards are not maintained. Intense price-based competition, lack of brand image, very weak linkages with financial institutions, lack of R&D and testing facilities are the main problems of the cluster. High prevalence of sales tax in the state is affecting transparent business practices. Small Industries Service Institute, Hyderabad, in association with cluster actors, has pursued developmental interventions in the cluster. Interventions for strengthening of the association, market development including exports, linkages with financial institutions, quality improvement, common procurement of raw materials in bulk, etc. were pursued. As a result of interventions, a new association, Fan and Fan Components Manufacturers Association of AP, was formed and registered. Regular meetings of the association are being held to address the needs of developmental activities of the cluster. 3 market consortia have been formed to export products. A soft consortium of 6 members was formed to procure raw materials through Nrcd, which helped each unit to save about ₹1,00,000 on the raw material purchase. A business information center cum subcontract exchange exists in the Small Industry Service Institutes, from where members can access the needed information. A common website has been developed by the association. Trainings are conducted for creating awareness for members to get BIS certification. Participation in exhibitions towards exploring new business opportunities is carried out.
Chinese are taking the major share from us, and if this cluster develops, I think that we can take the maximum share out of it and can grow as big as the other people are growing.
Business Development Service Providers, BDS, are being introduced in areas like export marketing, technology upgradation, and aesthetic design of fans. Efforts are on to promote a common brand name for popularizing quality fans and for enhancing market for the products of SSI units.
अब कोशिश करके हाइपन फैन बना के और इसको विज्ञापन के जरिए या गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट में इसकी पुष्टि करने के बाद अच्छे फैन बना के हम लोगों को भी एक्सपोर्ट का और गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट का ऑर्डर मिलेगा, ऐसी आशा हम करते हैं.
As part of the cluster development program, linkages were developed with SIDBI, Andhra Bank and SBI. State Bank of India is advancing 1.5 crore rupees credit to 2 fan units. 12 units were certified as ISO 9000-2000 units, and products of 4 units got the ISI certification by the BIS.
Cluster is helping us out, so we'll have a lot of exposure to the overseas market.
The association has submitted an application to the Andhra Pradesh government to allot 50 acres of land for establishment of fan park with a state-of-the-art infrastructure, with an estimated investment of 200 crore rupees by the fan manufacturing units. The park, when established, would enable the units to overcome several deficiencies affecting the cluster now and to improve the image of the cluster in the international markets. Cluster development process has helped the wet grinder manufacturing units in and around Coimbatore in several ways. Collaborative efforts addressing the larger needs of the cluster as a whole are evident. The association has gained popularity and is addressing such strategic needs. Social capital in the cluster has improved. The tiny sector units are getting a better deal from the SSI sector units, to whom the tiny sector supplies its components.
நல்லபடியா சம்பளம் கிடைக்குது, ESI PF எல்லாம் பிடிக்கறாங்க, நாங்க எல்லாம் சந்தோஷமா இருக்கோம்.
The 2 clusters presented here are just a micro representation of the several clusters being developed by CEDO under SICDP. The clusters undertaken under SICDP range from brass and bell metal clusters to bulk drug and formulation cluster, gun manufacturing cluster, steel re-rolling cluster, auto component cluster, etc. The results in other clusters are also quite encouraging and noteworthy. The 10th plan layout for the SICDP has been earmarked as 33 crore rupees. Performance under the scheme is monitored by a steering committee chaired by Secretary SSI. The SICDP in the years to come is expected to address the developmental needs of several clusters in the country. Perhaps it would be apt to say, clusters are the future of business.